But those who trust in the Lord will find new strength. They will soar high on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not faint. Hi everyone, I hope you all are doing very well. For today, I want to share with you a message of encouragement and have a mini celebration because as of a few days ago, it has been 1 year since I started this channel. And the fact that I even started at all is a huge testimony in itself, which I do want to get into. And by going through this testimony and sharing it with you, I want to encourage you and remind you that no matter what you're going through, God can turn it around for good. No matter how difficult your situation is, no matter how horrible you are feeling, how guilty you are feeling, He can turn it around. He can use it for His good. And if God has placed a calling or a desire in your heart and you might not know what it means or you might not know how you're going to get there, please know that God will lead you to it. But it does require obedience, and it does require trusting in Him and having faith and putting in the work. And that is all something I want to share with you through this mini testimony. So to begin, I started this channel June of last year, but there were a lot of events that led to it being created. I'm not sure if you guys have seen the video that I made on stepping into your calling, but in that video and in a couple other videos, I do share that my biggest fear was speaking on camera. I would have never guessed that I'd be here right now. I think younger me would just be probably having a panic attack. I never thought I would be doing this. And the thing is, I've always wanted to do it. That's the funny part. Like, I really liked editing. I really liked filming, but being out in public and watching myself speak, watching myself on camera was a really big anxiety for me, which started from childhood. But basically in November of 2023, so many months before I started the channel, I had a art account on Instagram that was doing very well, was getting like millions of views. But because I was starting my walk with Christ around that time, I began to feel convicted for what I was posting. Now, it wasn't like I was trying anything weird. It was just, I didn't like my heart posture behind it. I didn't like that I was chasing fame. I didn't like that I was looking at views and money and popularity. It just wasn't being done for the right reasons. And I kind of felt like God was calling me to let it go. And eventually I did. Because although it seemed promising and it could have led to a really cool art career, it just wasn't serving Him. And it wasn't bringing glory to Him. And again, my heart posture was just full of pride and selfishness and ego. And so letting go of that account was really hard. It was a really hard thing to do, especially when you work towards something like that. Having to let go of it and just trusting that God will bring you something better is really hard. And so that said, I just continued my walk with Him until about January, February, when I felt inspired to make content again. And so because I didn't want to be on camera, I would just make reels, and I would make reels with like Bible quotes. I would ask people if they wanted me to pray for them, and those did pretty well. I remember feeling like I had found what I wanted to do because I just really enjoyed sharing God's word. I really enjoyed praying over people, giving them advice, hearing other people's testimonies, having fellowship. It really felt like I had found my passion and my calling, but the only thing is, I didn't want to be on camera. And although you can make content without being on camera, you can make content in a very creative way that still draws people to Christ. I found that if you wanted to give advice or you want to make videos like I'm making now, it's very hard to come off as personable and build a community if people don't see you, if they don't see who you are. And there have been cases where YouTubers do build strong communities without showing their face, but for me, I just found it very difficult to do myself. And I feel like that was God's first nudge into telling me like, hey, you can't do this until you overcome that fear. And so I thought about it, and I still was kind of stubborn. And eventually in March, God had blessed me with a lot of fellowship, which I am still so grateful for to this day. Since meeting them, my growth with him had skyrocketed, and it led me into a situation that I knew wasn't from God, but I still allowed to happen, and it led to a lot of sin, but also a lot of seeds being planted. And one of those seeds, again, was starting a channel. Since one of my fellowship was already really experienced with making videos and was so natural on camera, I just found that really inspiring. And I knew I wanted to do that. I knew I wanted to just sit and speak and share advice with people and help others grow closer to God. I think I wrote it in my Bible. I'll screenshot it for you guys so you can see. After reading the book of James during this season of doing stuff out of God's will, I wrote in my notes, I want to help people grow closer with God. I feel like that's my calling. And when I finally prayed about it, and I finally prayed and asked God, Lord, if this is the calling you want in my life, please make it clear to me. And 2 major things had happened. So the first thing was that I was on call with someone. It was really late at night, and I had assumed that they had fallen asleep. But out of nowhere, they just asked me. They were like, Rebecca, how do I deal with lust? And it was directly after I had prayed and I had asked God to show me my calling, confirm to me what it is that he wants me to do, if he wants me to answer questions. And then that same night, that friend had asked me how to deal with lust. And the funny part is, I didn't want to go to church that day, but I did. And the sermon was on lust. And so I had everything ready to share with them, and they were so excited. And it was an exciting moment for me too, because it was the first time where I had answered a question, and I felt like I had genuinely helped. And the joy that brought to me is something that I still carry with me today. And I'm so grateful for that moment, because it really did open my eyes. And the second moment was at work, when one of my coworkers, who, mind you, at the time, I wasn't very openly Christian at work. I just kind of wore a cross, and, I'd post Bible verses on my Instagram. But this one coworker, out of nowhere, after I had prayed, because I was at work, I was cleaning something, and I'd prayed, I'm like, Lord, please show me, if this is what you want me to do. This coworker just comes up to me, and they're like, Rebecca, what's communion? And I'm like, what do you mean communion? And she's like, in church, what does it mean to take communion? And although at the time I wasn't very familiar with the practice, because again, I was still learning about our faith, I tried my best to answer. And later, I had asked her why she came to me and asked me that question. Like, girl, why didn't you Google it? Why'd you come to me? And she looked at me and she said, I already kind of knew what it was, but I just want to come to you and confirm that it was right. And I'm not saying that I'm right about everything, but the fact that she trusted me with that, the fact that she felt comfortable asking me a question about such an important thing in our faith, I was like, whoa, Lord, you answered that prayer immediately. You really want me to do this. But despite this, the fear of being on camera still bothered me. I didn't like it. I still didn't want to do it. I always love saying that I was like Jonah when God clearly calls Jonah and asks him to do something, and Jonah just says no and runs away. I swear I think Jonah is my favorite book because of that, because he's so, unfortunately, so relatable, which he shouldn't be, by the way. We should always try to be obedient to God and not run away from whatever he calls us to do. But, I still ran, and I still didn't feel qualified. I've spoken about it before, but I really stutter when I'm on camera for some reason. Up to now, a 5-minute video will probably take me an hour to film, because I'm just sitting here and I'm trying to find the words to say, and I'm calling on the Holy Spirit. And although I am making coherent sentences, it takes me a while to figure out what those sentences should be. And I've tried making notes, I've tried doing scripts, I've tried fasting during it, and obviously God has helped me a lot. Whenever I call on him, he does help. But I feel like my weakness, my struggle in speaking, allows his power to shine through. And I've come to a point where I am grateful for what I struggle with. And I know God can help me get through it too. I'm not saying that. I'm not trying to build my confidence, but I'm still glad for it, because when a video comes together and it does speak to you guys, I know that it was fully God and that it wasn't me. Because if it was me, you would have like 10 minutes of me stuttering and not having a normal sentence to say. Back to my story. About a month before I had started my channel, I got hit with the worst situation that I could have ever imagined happening to me. And I'm not really comfortable going into what that situation was yet, but I will say that it was devastating and was shocking. So just imagine the worst thing that you expect to happen happening. That is what happened to me. And if you ask any of my friends, I was really just overwhelmed by it. I was sad, I was angry, I was going through all the emotions possible, and I was so confused because I thought that this situation was in God's will, and it wasn't. And I just felt so heartbroken over the fact that I had let God down. I mean, I know that he knows what we're going to do before we do it, but I just felt really bad that I was walking out of his will, and I was really beating myself up for not realizing that I was walking outside of his will, because the situation I was in, it was leading me to sin. It was full of chaos. It did not have God's peace at all. And so I was really hard on myself for not knowing better. But despite that, when I was going through what I was going through, I was actually with my fellowship and that same friend that likes to film and make videos. And so I had told her, like, hey, I kind of just want to sit and talk about what's been going on. She was so amazing to allow me to do that. And I just remember we spent most of our trip just filming. And without that fellowship, I don't think I would have had the encouragement or the support in not only what I was going through, but in posting. And so after the situation had happened, I had really clung on to God and kind of realized that if I were still in that situation, I would have never had filmed. I would never had the courage to film because of anxiety that was also tied to what I was going through. But now that it was over with and done and out of my life, I felt like I had nothing to lose. And so I got in front of the camera with my friend and just talked for like 20 minutes, talked about God, and it was really cool. It was the first time where I spoke, and I didn't feel weird about being on camera. And I didn't stutter because I was with someone, but after going through so much sadness and pain and seeing myself speak on camera, I finally listened to what God was calling me to do this whole time. And I didn't have any fancy equipment. I just had my phone. A lot of you guys ask what I film with. I film with my iPhone. And at the time, I had like a really crappy gaming mic that I used, and the lighting was so bad in my first video. I struggled a lot with audio. I am so sorry to all of you who were here from the beginning or who watch my old videos and just hear how horrible the audio is. I promise I am doing my best in every video to fix my mic and save up for one of those Shure mics, because can you imagine how I would sound on one of those? But anyways, so I just filmed and posted, and I didn't really think anything of it. And at first I was going to use hashtags, and then I didn't, because I was like, okay, God, if you truly want me to start making content and you wanted to encourage others and you're calling me to do this, I don't need to do anything but post. Like, I know everyone is concerned about the algorithm, but my mentality going into it was that God is bigger than the algorithm, and that if he wants my content out there, he will do it. I just have to put the work in. And so that's what I did. And immediately my first video was doing pretty well until this video, which I'll put here, blew up. And even then, like, I remember the audio in that video was so bad and I wanted to take it down. But my friend had told me, she was like, no, keep it up, like, it's fine, keep it up. And that video was the one that ended up blowing up. And then eventually in December, I had made 2 videos. One, avoiding Jesus, which came at a time when I talk about in the video, I was really like out of alignment with him. And then the second one was about lust and dealing with lust. It was my first video on lust. And it kind of made everything go full circle because of that one question I was asked on how to deal with lust that planted the seed about making content. And then I'm here publicly speaking about it. And I don't know, it was just a really wholesome full circle moment that brought me a lot of peace and showed me just how amazing God is and how amazing he works. And so at the beginning of this video, I had shared with you guys the verse from Isaiah 40:31, which is actually the verse that is on this t-shirt, which is also tied to this testimony because when I was coming home from seeing fellowship 2 weeks before I had posted, I was at the airport, and although I had gotten so much confirmation and, I kind of made up my mind on making content, I just wanted God to just give me like one more sign, one more piece of confirmation that this is where he wanted me to go because, again, I just felt really unqualified. And so I was at the airport and I was wearing this shirt and I went up to the person at the baggage check and he had noticed my shirt. And he was trying to read it, and he was like, "Oh, you'll run and not grow weary." Nice. And then he said that it reminded him of a verse in Ecclesiastes, which was Ecclesiastes 9:11, which says that the fastest runner doesn't always win the race, and that even if you're amazing at something, even if you're the best at something, it doesn't mean that you're automatically qualified for it, because time and chance will happen to us all, and it's really only up to God. And so that hit me because, I didn't feel like I was the best at making videos. I didn't feel like I was the best at speaking, and yet God was calling me to do it because he would bring me through it, even if I didn't feel qualified. And then when the bags were checked and it was time for me to go, he looked at me and he was like, "May you run and not grow weary." And that was like the biggest encouragement ever. That was the biggest confirmation ever that, God really wanted me to do this. He just really wanted me to take a risk and step out of my comfort zone and start this for him. And again, all the glory goes to him. None of it goes to me. I'm just the messenger boy. I just go through stuff, film it, tell you guys, and God uses it for his glory. Making content or even just doing things for God to encourage others or to help others or to evangelize or whatever he is calling you to do, whatever your purpose is, it's not going to come easy. When I had asked one of my friends, like, it's been 1 year, what have you noticed about me? What do you think has changed? They had made a very good point saying that, since you started your channel, Rebecca, you have gone through a lot more trials. You are constantly being tested. And so I just want to not warn, but tell you guys to prepare that if you want to start evangelizing, if you want to start telling people about Jesus, if you want to encourage people in their faith, if you want to fulfill whatever purpose God has for your life, it's going to take a lot of work, not just physical work, but spiritual work. Because the moment that you step out and you decide to obey God's will and want to fulfill the plan that he has for your life, he will work on you. He will refine you. He will constantly be growing you. And sometimes that means going through trials and testing and periods where you're dealing with spiritual warfare, periods where you feel like he's not there, although he is. I've said it before, but every one of my videos, everything that I tell you guys is based on what I have dealt with. Even what I'm sharing with you now about how God will help you and see you through and how God has so much for you if you obey him. It's a message that I need to hear now. And I'm probably going to be rewatching this video a couple more times after I post it, but although it can get difficult and stormy and not easy to pick up your cross and follow him, even after everything that I went through, I can firmly say that not only God is faithful, not only is he trustworthy, but that even through all of the struggles, being used by God, following him, growing for him, bringing glory to his name, it is so worth it. It is the most satisfying thing ever. And so if God is calling you to do something for him, if he is encouraging you, trust in the Lord and he will give you new strength. Even when it seems impossible, trust him. There are so many times where I would post a video without any hope at all, but just doing it to please the Lord. And that video ends up being the one blowing up. Like the Cost of Avoiding Jesus one. That one I was certain would be my last video because I was just so drained and done. But I still trusted him. And I'm going to do my best to steward what he has given me. So when God gives you something that you've been praying for, if he finally shows you the purpose for your life, or you finally go after that calling, please make sure that you take care of it and that you steward it well and that you constantly call on God. And again, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to feel qualified. Just do your best in honoring him and leaning on him throughout the whole thing, and get other people's opinions. If you have godly friends, ask for their advice. I remember when I posted my first video, one of my friends told me to make sure that my content was constantly vetted, meaning that before I post, just make sure that whatever I'm saying is in alignment with God's word. And if I hadn't asked for that advice and gotten that criticism, I wouldn't be so careful about what I post and making sure that it's in God's will. And so that's my little, actually not little, this video is like, the filming time says 55 minutes, but that's my testimony on how not only God brought me through such a horrible time in my life, but he restored it. He restored everything that I had lost. He brought me to a new area and a new environment, and I'm so grateful for it. And I know that if he can do it for me, he can do it for you. You just have to trust him and obey him and surrender to his will, even when it's hard, and continue to build your relationship with him and seek after him. And as you do that, I promise you that no matter what you're going through, he will bring you through it. He will carry you through it, and he will restore you. He will show you the path that you need to take, and he will help you get to where he wants you to be, of where you desire to be. Because, like with this channel, he did it for me. And again, if he can do it for me, he can do it for you. I have a prayer request form in the description of this video if you need prayer about anything. And again, I just want to thank you guys for all the love and support and encouragement that you give me daily. It really does keep me going and really does make me so grateful to God for helping me overcome my fears and being able to serve him and serve you in this way. And so I hope that you have a very blessed day or night wherever you are. Please take care of yourself, and please know that God is with you and that he loves you.